which is the group that made the recommendations that we're addressing today.
I'm Brian Green, I'm Vice Dean Academic, also a member of the Faculty Management Team.
I'm Lauren Tickle, I'm the Faculty Manager and I'm also a member of the Faculty Management Team.
Tony McGrew, I'm the Dean of HAS.
I'm Dr. Christie, Head of the School of Education and a member of the Faculty Management Team.
So thanks for that. Just to give you an overview of what the format of the meeting is going to be, we're going to be doing just open question and answer and opportunity for you guys to give some input about the topic tonight. We'll have open question and answer session. If you want to speak, just raise your hand or speak. I'll try and get through everyone, but if you just put your hand up, I'll take a note of you and then we'll come to you next. Just to make sure that everyone can give their input and we can make maximum use of the time. We do have an hour scheduled for this, but if it does run over, we can go over with that. I think everyone's happy for that, just to make sure we get through everyone's opinions as possible. So I don't have any questions submitted from people that can't make it, but hopefully some of you guys will have been able to chat to your course mates and see what their input might be. But I just welcome anybody to kick us off.
Can I just?
Oh yeah, of course, sorry.
This is part of the consultation process. So, but one of the things that I don't know is whether you've actually seen the proposals or not, because some staff are giving the proposals to students, but it may not be consistent. So, I'm assuming that some of you have actually seen the actual proposals on which we're consulting, and therefore the timetable and so on. And that therefore this process, today's process, is part of that kind of consultation. So if you haven't got any questions, even if you've got statements or whatever that you want to relay, this will all be relayed back to the development group, which is actually, if you like, reviewing the proposals. So I just wanted to, so you're clear about what we're actually doing here today, so it's part of the consultation.
Also, an additional point, we're going to be filming this meeting just so that anyone who can't make it, because I know a lot of people can't actually make tonight, and that's going to be posted up on the website. If anyone has any problems with speaking on camera, like your faces won't be on it, it'll just be your voices. But if you do have a problem with that, just let me know. But we'll be posting that up hopefully tonight or tomorrow.
I think the most important thing at the moment is what kind of measures are you planning to ensure that the remaining students who are in this course at the moment are going to graduate with degrees that are equal in value to the one that we enrolled for, in terms of qualified and experienced tutors, in terms of actual facilities, since Jordanhill has been sold. So we need practice rooms, rehearsal space, and studios, and also ensembles. We need specific figures. Do we have any agreements in place with other institutions, because we haven't got future intake on this course. So we need to have a certain amount of people for all the ensembles to actually work.
These are proposals at the moment, so we need to be clear that no decision has been made. So what I have to say, in a sense, has to be seen in that context. Clearly, I think in terms of the continuation of students on the programme, given that there's going to be no entry, in a sense, to the new programme if these proposals go ahead, we will put in place measures to ensure that all students graduate with a degree which they came in to study, and with all, if you like, the support and the infrastructure which is necessary for them to have that quality educational experience. And we will manage that at a faculty level, and we will ensure, in a sense, that everything is in place to deliver that. You will also recall that the Jordanhill Campus closes down in 2012 and moves in business plan. So a rigorous job was done here, and I think there are still fundamental issues with it. And that's just on that side. There's the whole question about research and so on, which is another set of separate issues. So the proposal is not simply built around the issue of the new course. The proposal is also predicated on issues to do with the research capacity So
It's not really, the university's not about having to research as well, it's about education, and that should really be the thing that matters the most.
the university is about research and education, the two things
But
go
yeah, I mean,
together.
I'm talking about universities as institutions. Universities are institutions for learning, they're not institutions for, they're primarily just for like carrying out research and
I think that's certainly a position. It's not a position I would hold, because I think the distinction between college and university is that universities do research which informs teaching and actually informs learning. And if we don't do that, we're doing students a disservice.
Where did, in the proposed new course, where did research fit into that? Just talk about that and link it to
I'm not sure what
research. Like, I don't know if, I mean, I'm going back to quite early discussions that we maybe had when we were talking about the new course, and it was drawing on research strengths from elsewhere in the university, and bringing them into this new course to try and get a better established research base in music. Where did that kind of stand at the last sort of stages of the course?
Well, there was an input from engineering, which in a sense is built around their expertise in sound and so on. And there's an input from business, which is built around their, I think it's entrepreneurship, management and so on, which fits in with their research. I think the issue is actually around the research within music.
I mean, I think that
Research
just to add to that, there's an important relationship between research and education, and we've got a third dimension that's knowledge exchange. You know, in sort of three areas of our activity. As Tony says, a university is a place where learning takes place, but knowledge is also being created. And what we try to do in a university, and Strathclyde is in this respect same as all other universities, we characterise what we do by way of teaching, the education we provide, as being research informed, and you know, in a design of a course, we want to ensure that the teaching we provide is well founded in strong research that's going on in the institution, and we draw on those strengths to provide well-informed teaching. So the course could, you know, elements were being planned in that way, saying we need to draw on those strengths to make the course as good as it could be. But the university also has to think about its profile in terms of how it performs in terms of its research. And clearly in areas, applied areas of research, you know, we're looking at very close links between the field and the university, and you know, the research activity is embedded and linked. But it is really important that we actually look at the strength of the research itself. There's a number of reasons for that. The way universities are funded draws on a number of different kind of sources, and the university, the income of the university is, it draws from the funding body is providing resource for our teaching, but also resource to support research, and that amount of resource that comes into the university depends on the quality of research, which is assessed on a regular basis. It's an exercise that takes place every 5 or 6 years, and it's a terribly important exercise because it directly has a bearing on the amount of resource we have as an institution to carry on our activities. So it's about reputation, and it's also about the bread and butter, as it were, of resourcing of universities. That the quality of research is really, really important. And we have to, what we have to do as a faculty is to try to find a way to maintain the balance across all of these things. And it is a difficult judgment and a difficult balancing act to perform. But that's the challenge, and we, you know, the judgment here is that element is, you know, was certainly not as strong as it should be for a university subject.
Are you sure you are utilising all the possibilities then for research? Because the two research things you mentioned there were civil engineering and business and entrepreneurship. But there's also other aspects that could be utilised for research, such as, well, music psychology, but also the way in which musicians teach each other. I mean, our course teaches classical, folk music, jazz music. There's possibilities for research there for understanding how classical musicians perform, techniques, how they survive in the economic climate, also folk musicians and how they cope with different techniques and different things that apply to that. I mean, surely that must count as viable research. That's
If
stuff
it
that could
were,
be.
if it were happening, yeah.
I think there's lots of possibilities for research in all areas.
But just because you said that you didn't see there was enough, there
Well,
isn't been enough research, is that what you're saying?
That was part of the evidence that was considered, the actual profile of research in music. Was part of the evidence that the academic considered in reaching the decision.
Are we talking about the decision being put forward this year or last year?
Sorry, not decision, the proposal.
Okay. Because that's at least 3 times you mentioned the word decision, not proposal.
It is. No, I just want to stress that as a member of the academic development group, I am firmly committed to the notion that this is a consultation. I mean, if there are proposals or new ideas, new information that hasn't properly been considered, then it is the duty of the group to take that information and give it proper consideration, and in formulating reformulating the proposal before any decision is actually taken. It's not yeah.
So where do these suggestions have to come from? Because they've just come from us. They've come from I know they've come from the music staff. So where does that have to come from for it to be taken seriously for?
Well, they're all being taken seriously.
They're all being taken seriously, and actually, what we have, if you've seen it, as you said, you've seen the proposal, then you know the proposal asks for written responses, and from staff, from students, collectively. I think the Students' Union are going to put a collective proposal forward. That's actually been clear, it's transparent, and so on. And then that can be taken forward by the academic development group. And I think actually if you thought that the consultation was a sham, I don't think you'd waste your time coming here this afternoon.
Well, we've always...
Sorry, a lot of people haven't wasted their time.
No, I mean, I don't think you'd waste it if you said, you think it's genuine because you think...
Well,
I mean,
you talked earlier about the role of the director of music, and that it seems to be a good example of listening. You know, there was a proposal which was put forward to end the role of the director of music, and actually thanks to the Students' Association and the university have got together and they found a resolution to that, which actually should help part of the the ongoing sort of concerns of the of you as a cohort through the BA Applied Music. And the staff have certainly been, there was a meeting with staff last week with the unions present where they were told exactly exactly the same thing. Put forward proposals, counter proposals, thought through counter proposals, and these the ADR group, the group that's discussing these, will look at these kind of things. All we want to really make sure is that we make the decision, when we do come to make the decision, on the widest possible and the best evidence that's available. This is why this is a proposal at the moment. So, constructive, kind of engaged, offering us things we might not have thought through, are things that we will listen to.
Do you not think it's a bit unfair then, like, launching the proposal at this time of year as well? How can we, if we concentrate on properly launching counter proposals when the staff themselves are busy having to get the market deadlines completed, and our students are involved in completing our coursework and getting degrees or honours degrees? I think that's also, I think the time of the year is quite unfair. I think it could have been left till later in the year, maybe like for next semester, or possibly earlier.
But actually you couldn't, because I think the issue is that, in a sense, we have to deal with the issue of the new programme and whether or not it has an entry, so we have to make a decision about it. So actually, in the context of music, it's quite
Can the cap on it not be
specific.
extended then?
Sorry?
Can the cap on it in June not be extended? Can the deadline not be extended for us?
So why was it left this late then?
because the ADG had to do its work. It wasn't left alone. The business plan had to be produced. The ADG had to do its work. And if it hadn't allowed sufficient time to do that, then complaints would be that actually it hadn't done a duty of care to the proposal. So this is actually about rigorous process, and there's no, I acknowledge there's no ideal time in a university to deal with these issues, no ideal time whatsoever, because there are vacation times when clearly staff and students would say, well, actually launch it in vacation time because nobody's around and so on and so on. So there's no real ideal time.
What would it, so the fact that it's come at not just a poor time, but the worst time.
I would just say I don't think there's worse time or better time for this.
Yeah, this is
Okay, there's some people have been making some points. I would say like 3 weeks isn't really fair, but
yeah. So am I right in thinking that it is purely financial, the reason behind not going through with the proposed course, the new course?
No, it's academic, financial, and then there's a broader issue about research in music. Those are the three areas: research, and then the academic viability of the proposal and the financial viability of the new program.
I've seen at least 2 media statements coming from the University of Strathclyde, I don't know who from, saying that there was no finance involved in the decision. It was purely because Strathclyde was aiming to become a leading European technology in university. And I mean, I don't know who came up with this strategy and who voted on it, but have you looked at the kind of research that Switzerland and Belgium and Germany do in terms of university research, and the leadership they've got on technical, in terms of technical universities? The Strathclyde engineering degree is 20th in the UK. The business degree is the 6th in the UK. How are they ever going to become a leading Europe? I mean, if this is one of the reasonings why you're cutting all these 4 courses from the humanities, I think this is completely, it doesn't make sense when it comes to universities. Universities hold on to, you were talking before about education and research. A part of a university is having a strong humanities base as well. This is not technology college. And another thing I noticed in the media, which I think everybody on the course and the tutors were really deeply concerned about, was that someone from Strathclyde University said and deliberately misinformed the public that the fact that closing these courses, music course in particular, would not affect the choice for students or people who want to come on this course, because there are many music courses on the portfolio of other establishments in the area which are same to this one. Now, for someone to come out and to say something like that, it basically means that they have no idea what the applied music course teaches.
I mean, I haven't seen that quotation. I haven't seen that.
Well, I mean, I can email it to you if I knew that you would receive it. And I think that it's only fair for the people who are left on this course for the 3 years coming to get an apology from this for this, because that's completely, I mean, it came out at the wrong time, right before exams. I would not argue whether there's a better time or a worse time for this, but it's undermining what we're here for.
Yeah,
I could come to university wearing a unique sort of Strathclyde t-shirt and not feel a part of this, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Feel not appreciated. Another thing, I actually made a website for the degree, because I think it's completely, it's very bad. It's completely disrespectful to all the teachers, all the students, and all the alumni that the information for the course, even if it's not going to take any future students, is taken off the official website. Because people are thinking, well, where is your course? You don't see any information about our students. You go to the front page and you only see biochemistry or whatever. You don't see anything about music, and there are constantly things happening in, who was it that got the BAFTA, Scottish BAFTA? They only got a small article in the music ensembles page, which is kind of like left out, completely left out.
But they were on that was on the university webpage. It was on the front of the university.
Yeah, but it wasn't on the front.
It was.
It wasn't.
I think it was.
It was on
I
the
mean,
front for a number of weeks.
I'm pretty sure it was. In fact, if you go back and look on the archive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not.
I mean,
I'm
if
not
you send me the thing, because I genuinely I haven't seen that about music.
Okay, I will make sure that.
I think to address the first issue you were talking about the sort of technological university kind of thing. Now this does seem to be quite a common, which I think we believe is a misperception about how this whole thing is being organised. This is not a decision which is being made by the university and being imposed on this faculty. This is a decision that's being made by this faculty in order to make it stronger, to continue strength within the university. You know, there's no sort of suggestion that the university is trying to close down the humanities and social sciences faculty. In actual fact, it's quite the opposite. We're making this so that we've got strong humanities and social science within this international technological university. I think the institution itself has been very aware of this and has always been kind of emphasising the extent to which Strathclyde University will always have humanities, arts and social sciences as part of it. At least
Well, where's the arts going to be then? In the
there are a
humanities?
range of arts taught within
Such as?
English, creative writing,
What about
journalism, history.
arts, sculpture?
Well, we've never taught sculpture, so I mean, that's
It depends what's made by.
Yeah, but we've never taught it. So.
yeah.
The thing is, the applied music course has been and is still a very successful degree. I've got a few points here about what actually makes this course so special, and I'd like you to listen to them because I think not many people are actually aware of, unless they've actually been studying on the course or teaching it. First of all is the auditioning process. There's no other, as far as I'm aware, there's no other institution in Scotland that does 2 stages in auditioning, where you send a CD with your compositions and your performances, and then if that's accepted, you are offered an audition. Now that means that the top of the top actually come to this course. And all of us here have been offered at least one other place, unconditional, and they've turned it down. Even I can speak for, I came straight into second year, and all the people who are here on, in their first year, they knew that the course had problems, and they still chose to be here on this course instead of another course. Another thing, the applied music has never been the easier or the cheaper option to a music degree compared to the business degrees and the engineering degrees here. And I'll give you some examples. I stay in uni halls with 5 international students, 2 Bulgarians who are studying business, 2 Chinese girls who are studying engineering, and 1 Portuguese girl who's doing a master's in architecture. Now the Bulgarian girls are here to study business because it's easier for them to get on a business course and it's cheaper for them to study here. And their plans are to go back to Bulgaria. They're not going to stay here, they're not going to work in this country, they're not going to create anything here. The Chinese girls, I'm not being racist, I'm Bulgarian myself, I'm not being racist or anything. Their English is basic. I've been explaining to them the terms they've been studying on their degree. They're paying $15,000 a year to be here, and that's the cheaper version for them. But the most important thing is their plans when they go back to China, because they're not going to stay here, is to look for rich husbands, because this is a status thing for them to have a European degree, and I'm not kidding. The Portuguese girl is here because she couldn't get on a master's course in Portugal, and she found the course in Strathclyde. So I'm not saying that it's the same for every student on these degrees or anything. I'm just saying that compared to them, we're here by first choice. This is what we want to do. This is our lives. And we're not here to get a degree so we can marry someone or, you know, have an easier life or whatever. We're here because this is what we want to do. And we've chosen Strathclyde. And I know that Strathclyde has chosen us as well, but we've had other opportunities. We've had the opportunities have it easier on ourselves, if you like, but we've chosen to be here. And the other point is, as someone had mentioned before, the diversity of musicians. There is no other place in Scotland that actually teaches traditional, classical, pop, rock and jazz music, and you don't have to specialise in one. They're actually building the course around your own personal strengths, if you like. You don't have to be molded into an X Factor singer, you know. So I think, as you say, and this is a consultation, I think we're all deeply offended by the fact that this university does not want to have this course anymore. And it's an industry recognized standard, this course. So
we're talking about the existing course,
yeah,
as opposed to
the existing course, yes. I mean, no one knows what was going to be on the new course if it was going to happen. I'm talking about the applied music course.
I mean, I think that, you know, that's very legitimate. I wouldn't expect you to say anything else that you're committed to the cause and so on, and you're very passionate about it. And I think we acknowledge that. We understand.
Can I just add to what you were saying there? When I was going through the process of picking what I wanted to do, there wasn't really anything other than this course that was suited to to kind of what I do, what I play. And there's the RSAMD, which is it was purely classical and traditional, and there wasn't anything else in Scotland that I could consider except from this. If I really wanted to pursue what I enjoy doing and what kind of what my goal is. So I think it's quite sad for people that might be in my position that they won't have the same, they don't have this one thing that is perfect for them, because that's what it was for me. It was like my only, it's really all I wanted to do was this course. I didn't want to do anything else. So it's quite sad for the younger people who aren't going to even have that one course that'll be suited. There'll be nothing in Scotland. I just kind of, I would hear some thoughts on those people as well. What about I think there must be a population that aren't going to have this option. They might have to not do music because it's not there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there's an issue about provision, and there's an issue about the fact we need to be clear whether we're talking about the existing course or the new course, because the existing course.
Obviously, I'm talking about what I'm currently on. I'm not talking about something that I'm not on.
Well, that's what I mean, and that
I don't know anything about the new course or
no,
what it's like. So.
But we need to be clear that the Senate, in a sense, withdrew that course last year.
But the proposed new course
it's just
was
the same thing.
target the same.
But it's not the same course though.
We
need to be clear it's not the same course.
It would target the same. It would target that same group of people.
It targets a similar group, but it's not actually the same course, and I think that's where it's.
Can I just tell you, sorry,
I'm not sharing it.
It's just to reinforce the point that's made much earlier, and this is about the ongoing commitment to the quality of the experience for current students. And I think one of the things that's been very helpful in this evening's discussion is to identify concerns that you have about continuity in your experience, and there are challenges there that we need to go and solve. And I think having a regular update as part of that would be very helpful.
Okay, there's quite a few people who are waiting to speak, so I'll take you first.
I was just wanted to add to James' point, because I come 250 miles away from home. I chose this course out of everything in the whole of the UK. I didn't dismiss anything from Wales to Ireland to Scotland to England. This was the only course I wanted to do, and it was essentially pushing us all out, because I'm also thinking of moving to another uni, because if you're not going to give us a good experience for the next 3 years, what other choice do we have?
But we will do.
We say that, but...
We need to prove it.
I'll take the blue for that.
That's all
Alright.
So in regards to the new degree, one of your reasons for proposing not to go ahead with it is there are very similar music courses in Scotland. Ask where?
Yeah.
Where in the UK? Do you mean to the new degree or the old?
Either. Take your pick.
We do know that. We did get a look at an excess about the degree. And then when you were saying, you're talking about, are they talking about the course we're currently on, or the new degree? It's more the music, it's both, but it's the music department, and also this new degree, the degree structure we see was to take the key elements, the variation of Celtic music, jazz music, classical music, and to employ them, as well as technology, composition, theory, things like that. So it's the two of them. I mean, it's split hairs at times to say how drastically different that this new course is going to be from this course.
Essentially, it was going to be based on the applied music course. That's what we were told.
Yeah, but it is.
Excuse me, can I have my question answered rather than spiralling off into debate? Where exactly in Scotland is there a similar course to this proposed new degree structure that you all, or sort of Frank being there and music staff have been working to create? What other institutions in Scotland will deliver a similar degree?
Probably not directly similar.
Well, where's indirectly similar? Anywhere? Anything? Give us anything.
I mean, I think if we look at something which is comparable, I think Napier is one that we have looked at to the new degree. University of West of Scotland has a music program, but it's not the same. It's a technical program, but it has elements of it which are actually similar to the new program.
Well, there's no one course that has all the elements we have.
But the new course, in a sense, is not the existing course.
So the new course retains the elements.
It retains some elements. Some elements.
Can I just say, when you just said Napier, you said was a comparable department to the new degree. I spoke to a friend a few days ago who has just graduated from the BMAS classical music, and in his preparation for his final recital, he felt unable to communicate with musicians on the other music degree within the same department because the two are very, very segregated. And that's something, I mean, we're a completely opposite department. We're not talking applied music or the new degree. Our department has a unique amount of integration that no other department has.
Can also make a point. I had a proposition to go and study in Napier, and quite a few of the musicians that I've been working with have been on the degree, as well as I know people who are teachers on that degree, and they have nothing like what we have with our tutors here. It's a mutual respect. There is no when it comes to performance, when it comes to actually getting gigs and professionalism, there is no distinguishing between I'm a student and you're the tutor, or like the other way around. When it comes to Napier, there's a big gap in communication between students and tutors, and there's nothing like we keep getting emails from Jerry, for example, for jazz gigs at the Brel. And not just Jerry, everybody else is kind of like, it's a very professional environment. It's nothing like Napier.
You're not expecting me to comment on
No, I'm just saying that, you know,
completely inappropriate.
People go to Napier that can't get in here, basically. Everyone I've spoken to that goes to Napier tried to get in here.
I think that's, we need to be very careful what we actually say here, because that's
it's just because you compare the two courses.
No, but I mean, you have to be careful what you say about Napier.
Yeah, but these people have spoken to people.
You're also making a statement about the quality of that course, saying that the quality of that course is equal to the quality of ourselves to the quality of this course. I think that's a wrong statement.
Well, I mean, I think that's a judgment. Be very careful what you say about the institution.
You talk about the Napier providing a course. How can you justify sending people across to Napier when 70% of students from Strathclyde come from the west of Scotland? How can underprivileged or poor children who want to go to university, who want to study this course at university, travel and go to Edinburgh, afford to go to university through in Edinburgh instead of studying the one at Strathclyde? Whereas you said that's a comparable course.
Well, I mean, I think that the issue of provision is an issue, and that's something that we'll take back into the academic development group, as we'll take with other issues. It's a personal issue.
Can you give us any specifics at all on how we will retain the quality experience that we signed up for should we go through? Any specifics? just a vague promise.
What are these measures?
Well, it's not a vague promise.
No, no,
We will set up a framework within which we can deal with all the issues about provision, about ensembles and so on. We will do that.
It's not, this issue of the student population is not just about an ensemble module.
No,
or
I
if you're
know that,
thinking
yeah.
about that, because we can't overstate the importance of collaboration on this course.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a network set up here for vocation.
Yeah.
None of us are under any illusions about the worth of an undergraduate music degree in isolation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? We're here as a network because we get opportunities from other people who've already set it up. It's not. I'm here for the course rather than the degree, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And my plan is to spend the time setting up so that when it's time for me to leave, okay, it's nice to get a piece of paper, but
you want the network.
It's
you want
because I want to be
professional
set up to live after that.
Yeah, sure.
And those are the issues that we jeopardize your governance.
Yeah.
Okay, well, can we get some answers to that, or at least some thoughts?
We need reassurance.
That's why we're here.
I think we can give you reassurance of that. I don't see any reason why we can't ensure that that kind of professional connection doesn't continue.
Well, if there aren't people here, if there aren't other students, then it's not an option. If facilities are going, and our student population, and we're not being given, like, we keep coming back to the same point, and it's because we're hitting a complete roadblock. We're asking, what is going to happen? And you're saying, it will be fine, essentially. But we need actual answers.
I think we're at stage in two processes in relation to this. I think there's the highly significant consultation process, and the issue that the group has tonight feeds into that. There's another logistical process that's taking place, which is back to the issues about the class, the detail of the class descriptor. In other words, what the university's obligation to you is in terms of the content of the programme, bearing in mind the fact that we're talking about things that happen around about that. And that to some extent is part of the routine planning and timetabling for the next session. And that's happening with every course in the institution at the moment, but at a certain stage in that process, which is looking at the time slots, the facilities required, and nothing has changed in terms of the agreements that we have with, say, City Halls. We're on Jordanhill for another year. There's the ongoing estates planning for that. And also the issue about staffing for the programmes as well, both in terms of the balance between the university's own staff, where appropriate, and external tutors coming in. And we could have been sitting here this time last year, this time the year before that, and the year before that, and we would, middle to end May into early June, we're in part of a planning cycle for that. It's the same whether you're on applied music, whether you're on a programme in English subject area, whether you're studying psychology. That's where we're at as an institution just now, and every faculty is the same. Now, I think one thing to take from tonight is that we really need to make sure that we're up to speed with that. And what you've done, I think, is flag up for us a number of gaps that we need to pay particular attention to. We can't answer the question just now because we're in the midst of that planning process. I know that's difficult. I wish we had the answers because it would make all our lives an awful lot easier, not just with music, but with a number of other programmes in faculty. But we're working on that as we would be at this point. Any academic session with any of the programmes that are on the portfolio, and we need to progress that as a matter of urgency. But that is in training.
So what would the timescale be for this? When are we going to know what's happened? Like what the decision is from the consultation and then...
The consultation process lasts until the 10th of June. And individuals can then, between at least the 10th and the 17th, individuals that is, can actually still lodge any information or any counter proposals or whatever. There then has to be a process in which the academic development group will finalise any review of those proposals. Those have to go to an extraordinary meeting of the Board of Studies, which will take place in the week of the 20th of June. There is a meeting of Senate on the 22nd of June. But the final decision-making body on any of these proposals is not the faculty on Senate, it's actually the the university court, which meets on the 28th of June. And that's why in this context, in a sense, we have to be careful to separate out the process, if you like, of consultation from any planning which could be seen to prejudge the decision. And I think that that's what makes it difficult for all of us, in a sense, to be terribly precise, because if we were able to say, well, we've got all these plans in place, it presumes that the decision has been made, and we cannot, for obvious reasons, do that because that decision hasn't been made, and it's actually not our decision to make, it's actually the university court. And I think that process is actually quite important. And I know it doesn't help you necessarily, but I think you need to understand it.
It helps in the way that we know when to expect a sort of a plan
absolutely, yeah.
on what's
Yeah.
happening.
Okay, the guy with the cap.
It was just to a discussion a few minutes ago. We were talking about similar courses in Scotland to this course that we're just now in. And I think to even mention the likes of the Western Scotland, no disrespect to people who go to Western Scotland, I just don't think you understand the quality of this course, and like in terms of last year, I applied there as a backup, and no addition, coming to moving forward, that was me. That was me on the course, and I think to see that that course would be not an equivalent, but it offers something to see the things, yeah, and I think people, I think that almost show a lack of understanding on not just the quality of this course, but what other courses offer in Scotland. In order for you to say that there are other courses in Scotland that people would go to offer similar sort of things, I think that's wrong to mention courses like that, because I think everyone will agree here that it's the standard of musician who are doing that every single day to make it. You could go and get a degree from Western Scotland, but I can guarantee the standard of musicians there will not be the same standards here, and I'm sure that everyone will agree that they have improved as musicians, not just from the tuition, but play with everyone day in, day out on this course because of the quality and standard of musicians on this course.
You made reference in the proposal after I read it. There was a reference to redundancies being made as of September, I believe, or decisions on redundancies anyway. I know you said this is a proposal and you haven't thought forward that much as far as ensuring quality of the course and that sort of thing. Is there any sort of timeline on redundancies? Because that will undoubtedly affect the quality of teaching. Is there any sort of timeline of how many staff would go at which point? Because at the moment there are 15 first-year students. When they're in their third year, I doubt that all the staff who are currently there, who each fill a fundamental gap in everyone's education, they will not all be there in 3 years' time when there's 15 students. Like, I doubt the university will keep them on.
I mean, I think it's a proposal and no decision's been made on those issues.
But is there a plan at all? Is there any sort of projection?
It's not possible to do that because we're in a consultation phase. So that would come subsequent to.
But there will
it
be
would come.
redundancies.
Well, no, there would be then have to be a discussion after the consultation because there's a legal process.
But we were told about redundancies in
In
September.
the proposal it says, in the proposal we were sent out, when was it? Was it 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, it made reference to redundancies.
There's a risk, but not a proposal. If you see what I mean, it's part of the proposal, but there's a potential risk. But we, in a sense, I can't now reply yes, there is a plan for X, Y, because there isn't.
Okay.
In other words, it's a legal requirement in those proposal documents that if there's a potential risk, you have to identify it.
Right.
That risk may not come to fruition, but you have to identify it.
I don't really understand, and I think I disagree with you when you say that you can't, in the proposals, can you not at least say if this does happen, we will put these specific things in place. And then if it doesn't happen, then I just don't understand why can't it be embodied?
There is in the proposal, I can't remember exactly what clause it is, but towards the, if you look at the conclusion.
Not just saying the quality will be ensured, but actually saying how it will be ensured.
Well, but we've told you that we'll put mechanisms in place to do that. And to go into any further detail, this is the difficulty, to go into any further detail would prejudge the proposal. I think it would, because we have to be very careful. The documents are legal documents.
We'll take you next.
Who's going to teach us if you make these lecturers redundant?
We'll have to look at, if you like, over the next 3 years in consultation with staff, how we, if you like, run out the programme.
Why are we here if no decisions have been made? Aye. What is the point?
Sorry?
Why are we here if you've not made any decisions upon anything to do with...
Because it's a consultation. It's a legal process. It's a consultation. It's a proposal which has to be consulted upon.
Just to sort of supply some information to aid this proposal, the only way that the quality can be kept in this course is, quite frankly, if there is a sustainable amount of students studying it and the lecturers we have at the moment are kept here, because they each bring something individual to our course. None of them are unnecessary, none of the technical staff, nobody is unnecessary, and we need them all to bring different aspects of music. They all have different backgrounds, and just it will not be the same course if you take away these people. I'd just like you to know that, please.
I think one thing that definitely helps the consultation process is the possible brain drain of getting rid of this course, and the lack of acknowledgement of how beneficial this course is to the music economy in Scotland, and especially the music economy in Glasgow. The Celtic Connections is one of the people that helped run it is Mark Sheridan, who's a member of our course. The students, a lot of our students done our placements there as well to help out. We volunteered to work there, and not even just with placements. Some of us just volunteered there because we're in Glasgow because of this course, and we want to help music in Scotland and Glasgow. So if you get rid of this course, there's gigs, there's over 100 gigs every single week that are put on by members of this course or ex-alumni. There's people such as the members of bands like Franz Ferdinand are ex-graduates of this course. And these people, and the people who come in the future who could hold similar positions, and especially the amount of influence we've had in the Celtic field with, I could name people like we might not know, Jim Whitworth and things like that, and Anna Massey. And it's like, well, if these people, if we don't allow for people in the future to take these places, then what's going to happen to Glasgow being a city of culture? That's what we won the award for.
A quarter of the SNGO, Scottish National Jazz Orchestra, players, a 17-piece band, 4 or 5 of them are actually from this course. And it's just such a shame that it's going to get scrapped eventually.
You can't say that if you're a musician, you don't need to be on a course to be a musician. You'll still be a musician. But it's the ability to develop as a musician, to develop to that point that you are comparable to international standards.
And also the economic benefits it brings to Glasgow and the Scottish music industry. So if these people leave this country, then it's, that could negatively affect the income of music in this country.
I hesitate to say this slightly. There's a couple of students I've met with some high members of the senior management as well as the management team, but people from Senate and University Court. And those students were told that as far as these individuals were concerned, this new course isn't going to happen. And that we should be more focused on maintaining the quality of the current degree, the BA Applied Music degree. Now, I'm just kind of wondering if supposedly no decisions have been taken, what kind of fair process do we have a chance of having if members who cast that vote have already effectively made that decision in their minds?
I'm not going to comment on rumour and allegation. It's a bit like, thank you.
I'd also like to understand the length of time. It's about the length of time allotted to each part of the proposal being created, because obviously how many months or how many weeks were they allowed, and do you think that allotment of time is equal to the amount of time to create a fair rebuttal as well, or like counter proposals? Because I don't think it took 3 weeks to create the proposal.
An equal amount of time. So.
Can you tell us what the process was?
The process, the academic development group was set up in March, and it met throughout March. It met through part of early April, May. The faculty management team met throughout that period, and the proposals were put together and they were announced on the 9th of May.
They were in the 10th.
Sorry, 10th of May.
DDG and management team was finalising.
Yeah. So, and the consultation period is roughly the same period of time. Take out the Easter vacation, which takes out 2 weeks.
I've got a question. If the proposal doesn't happen and there is a music course, can you promise us that okay, you obviously will have to miss out this year, but will there be an intake to the next year? Because that will mean that if there is an intake, if we like essentially miss out a year, like as a department and whole, will there be an intake? Because that will obviously help us with ensembles and creating a network. Can you promise us that there will be a course, the proposed course running?
I can't judge what the decision is.
No, but I'm asking if there is, if
for example, if the University Senate and Court were to say no, there has to be a music course, then there would have to be a music course.
So does that mean that it will start as of 2012?
Well, it would then
yes.
There would then have to be a development period for that music course and so on. So,
but I mean, the point is that yeah, I think the points that are being raised are very important. The issue you've raised about the impact on the west of Scotland, on the culture industry, and so on. Some of the very important points that you've been raising. These are important considerations for a university. It's within a context and so on. So ultimately, the court will decide, on what's to happen here. They'll take whatever version of the proposal comes forward, and they'll make a decision. And I think we will, in the academic development group, have to think very seriously about the kinds of things that you're saying and any subsequent submissions that come through documenting some of these arguments, which may have been made in the past, but may be actually made in more forceful sort of terms and with more evidence kind of supporting the argument. We'll have to take those things very seriously into account. Obviously, the university court, being the kind of governing body of the university, the ultimate governing body of the university, has to take all things into account. It looks at the whole portfolio of its commitments, and it says what's the best way forward here, and it takes a range of things into account, including its impact in its community, and that's one aspect of universities' aspirations as set out in its strategic plan. It wants to have an impact, and has, as a faculty, wants to have an impact. So some of the arguments here are very serious points that will be that we'll have to take very seriously when we deliberate on what has come through the process in relation to all of the proposals that are on the table at the moment. So I mean, for me, it's been a very useful meeting because it has brought through very clearly some very important points and issues that we need to address, and we need to be sure that we've given all due consideration to those in reaching any kind of final version of the proposals that would go forward to the Senate and then the court for their final decision.
And as Donald says, we don't take a final decision; it's the university court that has to take a view.
Okay.
Can you just clarify, is this a financial decision or a strategic decision? Whether it just can you just clarify whether
it's a strategic decision.
Strategic.
Okay, as long as no one else has any questions, we've run over a little bit. Does anyone wants to make any final remarks?
I just wanted to thank you as well for coming to this meeting.
Thank you. I think it's been a really useful exchange. We've explored a number of issues. And I actually thank you for being very courteous and actually also at the same time being passionate about what you do, which I think is really important. It's great to see that. It's great to see that.
Yeah, thanks guys for coming along, and thanks again to the panel for attending tonight. Yeah, that's us for today. If you guys want to stick about afterwards, then I can chat to you about the campaign going forward.
We'll leave you. Thank you.